Thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So, it's been announced today. I'm just going to find the article here. It's to do with boxing. In the UK specifically, it says here, the British Boxing Board of Control have announced they've extended their suspension on all UK boxing events due to the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, we all know about that. Until the end of April. At this point, they will reconsider the situation. So we're talking the end of probably the last week, like literally the very end of April. It says at this point they'll reconsider the situation depending on circumstances at the time. And I'm just going to add to that. That is essentially putting a serious question mark over Whyte Povetkin. Even though that's in May, it's still, if they decide to extend that, essentially that pay-per-view card is essentially off the table. And you know as well, we aren't getting any fights announced, like 4 undercard fights. Obviously we had Katie Taylor versus Serrano announced. I don't need to talk about that, no one cares. With regards to other fights that are going to be on those cards, you normally tend to hear talk about, you know, rumours of fights being made, this, that and the other. We just don't have any because we don't know if any of those cards are going to go ahead. And I'm carrying on my problem series, a big problem series. Now I normally do it with fighters or I'll do it with promoters, but I'm going to go one more and say that boxing has a big problem now because we have no fights coming up. We've no events that are set in stone. You know, none in the States that I know of that are going to go ahead because I think they've all been cancelled. None in the UK because they've all been cancelled. There was a show meant to be on in Ireland in May, and I was actually going to be hopefully doing some media work for that. That's not going to happen. At least not going to happen in the month of May anyway. So boxing's really being put on the back burner, and you just got to wonder what's going to happen. You know, how are they going to reschedule all these fights? How are some of these fights going to get made? What's going to happen for some of these fights? You know, where are they going to find the time in the room to put some of these shows on? Because we were to have this week was to be Josh Kelly versus David Avanesian. All right, now that fight is obviously, it's not scrapped, but it's not happening this week, needless to say. So they might look at putting that show on an undercard. But undercards for what show? Because we don't know what shows are going to go ahead. We don't know, you know, really anything at this stage. You know, most of the fights, like Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce, that's being pushed back till July. That's not even a guarantee we'll get that in July. With the way everything's going on, I would imagine. I look, I can't put an exact date on when everything's gonna, you know, get back into like normality with this self-isolation thing that's going on. But I would imagine that July would be a realistic bet that we'll be back to normal or somewhat normality. I would bet against it by the end of April, personally. I would definitely probably bet against it by early May, probably late May, early June will be when we'll start to see things maybe kind of get back to the way they were. Again, I'm just surmising, I haven't a breeze. This whole self-isolation thing has not been fun for me. I don't go out a lot anyway, but I don't like being cooped up. You know, for me, my whole day consists of wake up, go to work, go to the gym, come home. That is literally my day in a nutshell. Obviously make a few videos in between. That's my day in a nutshell. So, you know, the whole self-isolation thing, you know, I don't like it because I can't go out. And most days I'm out and about for a bit. But like, I kind of self-isolate myself a lot of the time anyway, you know, realistically. I wish I didn't, but I do. So it's not bothering me necessarily in that sense. It just means that I can't go to the gym. I can't hit the bag, I can't spar, which is annoying. But I can still get out and go for runs, which is something. In terms of boxing, as I said, I can't see any of these cards coming up, you know, really happening. In fact, I'm just going to go on the BoxRec here. I'm going to go on the BoxRec. I'm going to look up some of the fights that are going to be happening in the UK or are listed to be happening in the UK in the next little while. So, we have a show on, and I know this isn't in the UK, but well, we know, actually, never mind, this show is done. The pro grade hooker fight, that's off. The fight then on the 2nd of May in Manchester, we don't know what's going to happen with that. The show that is on in Wales in Cardiff on the 9th of May. We don't know what the crack is with that. That was the date I was meant to be heading to a show in Ireland to do a little bit of media work, but that's gone. That's not happening. Then we have the Usyk Chisora card at the end of May. I think you might be able to swing that. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. They've pushed back the Lewis Ritson card until the end of June. I reckon you'd be okay there. Personally, I think that's okay. They might even. I wouldn't be surprised if they stick Josh Kelly versus, what's your man's name, Avanesian, because isn't he from Sunderland or somewhere like that? Isn't that near Newcastle, like kind of in the northeast of the UK? Could be wrong, I don't know. But I wouldn't. Maybe they want to put Josh Kelly on that. Maybe get some fans in there. And then of course we have AJ Pulev, which it's unknown whether that's going to happen. 20th of June, I would imagine you'd be okay with that. Personally, I'd imagine there shouldn't be any issues with that fight happening. But yeah, unknown times, in and indeed outside the ring. It is what it is. It's all the more harder now because there's not a lot you can talk about in terms of boxing. Because there's no fights being talked about. There's no anything really to talk about in the world of boxing anyway. Like I said, it is what it is. Certain things I wonder about now, and this is kind of what happens when you're self-isolating. You're just thinking, will DAZN still come to the UK in the time frame which they said, because the Canelo Billy Joe fight's not happening now until God knows when. So are people going to spend, even if it's only £5, are they going to spend £5 if there's no boxing on? So I might do a video on that and have a talk about that. I don't know. In regards to everything else, like they say, it is what it is. Like we're in this situation now, and that's just that. Boxing in general, it's annoying because we can't see any fights. It's frustrating, but it is what it. Like I keep saying, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm used to self-isolating, unfortunately, so it's nothing new for me. But for a lot of people, I'd say they're struggling with that. But it is what it is. I don't like self-isolating, truth be told, but I guess maybe I'm not the most outgoing guy in the world, even though I make videos and talk a lot. But I wouldn't be the most outgoing guy, so I don't mind self-isolating as much as maybe other people do. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. What is going to happen with boxing? Do you think we're going to get to see some of these fights? Do you think they're going to get to see some of these fights at the start of May? I would tell you now, I would be very, very, very surprised if we see Whyte Povetkin. I'd be very surprised about that. Could be wrong, stranger things have happened, but I'd be very surprised if we saw that fight. But those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe of course if you are new, and as always, I will talk to you.